Part of the deal that was struck to get Hayes in office, they basically said, we'll take all of these troops out of the South. We will forget about all this civil rights stuff that we've been doing. And we will essentially allow the South to go back to doing what it has been doing before, which was totally ignoring all the rights of African Americans. That issue did not come back in a serious way for 100 years. I promised Tim, we would conduct a nonpartisan conversation. We had a dialogue the other day about the difference between bipartisan and nonpartisan. I said, we're nonpartisan. We're not bipartisan. When I say nonpartisan, what I mean is you're not going to hear me endorse any candidates, with apologies to the assemblyman. You're not going to hear me articulate anything that endorses a party, because we are not a partisan group. But at the same time, we're not blind. And it's very obvious to us that some critically important things are happening in this society, and they revolve to a large extent around party politics. There was a poll that CNN did a couple months ago, and 93% of Americans who responded to that poll said they thought that American democracy was either threatened or challenged.
Well, America is an unjust place, because we know that if it was a group of black individuals, black and Hispanic individuals that did that, it would have been a different reporting on the news than the way the news tried to cover it.
I think that America's democracy, just like Austin, isn't in a great place, as we see with 19 states restricting the requirements for voting, making it more difficult for people to vote. And they're doing that because they're afraid they're going to lose power, so they have to restrict who can vote.
I'm inclined to agree that that democracy right now is not in a very okay place. It's very one-sided towards those in power.
I agree that the democracy in America is a very screwed up place right now. Like Austin started, the Capitol Hill riot, it just showed how immature our country is, that a bunch of people who think that just because the person that they wanted to win didn't win, that the system was screwed up.
A democracy is not really in a good place, because the people with the power to make a change, they're really not using it.
I'm hopeful that for the future we are heading into a better place in regards to racial injustice. It's very generational. That's why I say I'm hopeful for the future, because our generation is the future. I think that older generations have been, well, I'm not going to speak for everybody in the older generations, but a lot of people have been taught one way and have been living through this one way for so long that they don't think that things can be any other way. So I think that since our generation is so young, we're very new to this world and how it works, and I think that gives us a unique perspective and door for us to come into, where we're open to everything.
I feel like we're moving forward with racial equality in America, but in a way, I also feel like we're moving backwards. So I'm gonna start with the backwards point. They're banning or trying to disband critical race theories in schools, specifically in the South, and that's really making the youth of today uneducated about the role race plays in America. And when we eventually take power somewhere in the future, and we're uneducated about how race plays a role, we are going to make uninformed decisions on how to run this country properly in the interest of advancing Black people. But at the same time, I feel like I'm hopeful for the future, because as we saw last year in the summer, we are ready for change, as we saw with the protests.
I don't think in itself social media is a problem. I think it's whoever gets his hands on it and how they determine to use it, because you can't control what gets on it. You can't control what people want to say. It's the same with the First Amendment. It's just another way of freedom of speech. You can't really hinder it.
To the social media question, if it's a net positive or negative, I think it's also a middle ground, because it allows people to have a voice, because most people are too they would be scared to talk out in public, but through social media, they are able to speak anonymously and to voice their opinions. And even if they're negative, people are able to learn from that and learn what the ignorancy from that is coming from and why.
If you just look, the information is there, and it's all about, like I said, how you interpret it. So those people who are just a little bit, not right in the head, they see the world a certain way, and everything lines up because they want it to.
School should be preparing you for life after high school. Should just preparing you to just to get a good grade. Because if you're not prepared or have enough information, understand the internet, I don't think you'll be able to go far enough in life, because the internet is just such a useful tool to every man. I'm looking forward to voting because, and I'm a kid right now, but when I turn 18, the world will see me as a young adult. Actually, this time, so it's like, I want to make sure that even if my opinion is just one vote could be important. One vote can lead to so many different things. Like, you can't complain and then don't do nothing.
I think this year in particular has divided the nation in a way that I don't think we've really seen in a long time. I think that will change with our generation. I think I'm very excited to vote. I think our generation will definitely be different, just because we are a different set of people. We are a different set of perspectives, views. So I think we definitely will be different. Every group of people is gonna have their own problems. Like, nobody knew all those years ago that all these problems were gonna be surfacing at this time, and nobody said, "Oh, we're gonna do this to the younger generation in the future."
I do think what's being left with us is a lot on our plate, but I do believe that it can be done because of people and influencers that are promoting things like planting trees, things like team trees and stuff like that.
I don't really like being looked at your generation's mess. I think it's unfair, but I do think our generation has the power to change it. When it comes to things such as culture, such as laws, such as rules, we're able to adapt to change.
I think that the most important issue that is really affecting America is the increasing wealth gap, that the top are becoming richer and richer and people are becoming poorer and poorer. And we can't keep going on like this, because at some point, something's going to change. Somebody is going to get angry. Something drastic is going to happen. So we have to stop this drastic wealth inequality through laws or something.
In my opinion, I think a big problem is, I believe some of the laws and other written documents from a long time ago are becoming outdated, and I believe
You said
that
documents from a long time ago. You mean the Constitution?
yeah, like
right?
the Constitution and the
Right, okay.
amendments. Yeah, they're becoming outdated, and I think that they need to be either revised or they need to be looked at again.
I think racial inequality is something that us as a country, we have to really look at, because I think it's the biggest issue right now because of all the intersectionality that it has with all these other issues that are going on, not just in America, but in this world. But if we really focus on this issue, I think a lot of things will be better for this world.
I feel like the educational system in school is the biggest problem, because to me personally, I think, because eventually every kid has to go to at least one level of school. If that's elementary, middle, high school, college, you go to school. So, and school influences so much. At a certain point in your life, you spend more time in school than you do at home. So I feel like if we're able to change what is done in school and what is taught in school, not only will we be more prepared, but a lot of the other issues will start to diminish.
I would also like a revision for the education system because, for example, high schoolers like us, they don't really teach us what happens after high school. They say college, but they don't really talk about, for example, taxes or what we would have to go through during that, because there isn't much setting us up after that.
Great. Well, I want to close it down this evening first by just saying thank you to all of you for showing up tonight. Hopefully you all walk away with a little knowledge. I'd like us, I'd like to especially thank our panel for sharing their thoughts and insights. And we're going to be able to award each of the panel a signed copy of Ellis's latest book. I want to continue this dialogue, though. So what we're going to do as Madison is, as I mentioned, continue the concept of listening circles, because we need to hear from you, because that's the only way we're going to improve as an organization. Relevant to meet your needs, particularly those of teenagers, because we know you have choices, and we want to make sure you're making informed choices. So we need that feedback, and we're going to continue this listening circle concept to continue to improve as an organization. So please challenge us. And I want to thank Ellis personally for helping bring this together, and I wish you good luck on the rest of the Renewing Democracy listening tour. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.